Well, I think I'm live. This is Sean, Federal Prison Talk Live. Hey guys, I've been having problems all week trying to do videos. I've had to reset my computer to factory settings, and I'm going to give this a test run tonight, see if everything's back working. So I had to go and adjust, went to this ease of comfort part of my computer to make things bigger because my eyes, I'm getting old, guys, and I can't see. And I wanted to make all the text bigger and all the pictures bigger, and I totally blew it. Some things were bigger, some were smaller, and I'd go on the screen, and one thing's real small, and I can't even. Anyways, I've reset it, so I'm going to give this a test run. I don't even know if anybody's going to watch tonight or anything. I'm just going to try to run a few news stories here, see what happens. I do have the call in live thing going. And let me just get to a story here, and let's see if all this is working.
Eight sentenced to federal. Federal prison in Burlington methamphetamine conspiracy. 8 people from Burlington have been sentenced to federal prison for their role in a conspiracy to distribute drugs. Published October 30, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Davenport, Iowa, KWQC. 8 people from Burlington were sentenced to prison in connection to conspiring to distribute drugs in the Burlington area, according to a media release. According to prosecutors, the conspiracy started by December 1, 2019, until November 2, 2021. The sentences for the drug conspiracy are: Kendrick Central Childs, 35, was sentenced to 25 years in prison and 10 years of supervised release. Rudolph Sinclair Allen, 37, was sentenced to 20 years in prison and 5 years of supervised release. Clyde Max Stewart, Jr., 51, was sentenced to 17 years in prison and 5 years of supervised release. Demetrius Anter Gowdy, 42, was sentenced to 18 years in prison and 5 years of supervised release. Marcus Allen Johnson, 46, was sentenced to 15 years in prison and 5 years of supervised release. Gregory Jermaine Johnson, 36, was sentenced to 14 years in prison and 5 years of supervised release. Brian Keith Davis, 42, was sentenced to 10.5 years in prison and 5 years of super.
Well, that's a lot of time, man. Hey, TJ's in the room, Streets of Atlanta. I guess I am working. Like I said, I had to reset my computer back to factory settings, guys. Every time I tried to go on, something went wrong. I guess it's working now. So I thought I'd run a couple news stories, see if anybody comes on. We got TJ, Streets of Atlanta. How you guys doing? So it's a lot of time, man. 25 years down to 10 years, 15 years. They're all like 35 to 51 years old for distributing meth. So that's a pretty big bust. I get calls all the time for guys getting sentenced for meth and stuff, but they don't get this time. Man, I mean, they get 5 years or something. That tells me nobody told on anybody. Nobody, when you're getting sentences like that, and they all kept their mouth shut. I'll tell you that. I can tell you that right now for sure. Yeah. That's wow. Let's see what else it says here. Let's see here. Just says they were all middlemen for the group. They got large amounts of ice, methamphetamine from Childs, the main drug source, for another person that has not been apprehended. So they're still after the head guy, and nobody said nothing. They're still after the leader. All these guys kept their mouth shut, and that's the kind of time you get. I get this is in Arizona. Oh, Arizona don't play. Arizona don't play. So it's 362 pounds of ice altogether. It looks like. Or methamphetamine. First they call it ice, and they call it methamphetamine, whatever. We all know what it is, right? That's a lot of time, though. That's a lot of time. So it was Arizona, and it was investigated by the Southeast Iowa Narcotics Task Force. So they were bringing it from Arizona into Iowa. That's what made it federal, crossing the state lines with it. Okay. So that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. Now, let me see if I can find another story on here. Guys, I'm just kind of doing a test run, making sure my computer's working. So I won't be on here too long unless you guys keep me going and ask me some questions. Let's see. Man sentenced to more than 8 years in prison for federal gun crime. Let's check this one out because I had a couple guys call me with gun charges this week. Let's see here. And I got to wait. It says not responding. There we go. All right. Let's see here. Working out the kinks on this computer, guys.
Man sentenced to more than 8 years in prison for federal gun crime. Man sentenced to more than 8 years in prison for federal gun crime. Published October 31st, 2022 at 2:58 p.m. Huntington, West Virginia. A man from Huntington was sentenced Monday to more than 8 years in prison in connection with a shooting that happened last year in the city. Brendan Tyre Garner, 34, received an 8-year, 4-month prison sentence for the incident that happened in June 2021 on Charleston Avenue, according to a U.S. Department of Justice news release. Federal investigators say Garner had .380 caliber ammunition in his possession and shot a person before fleeing the scene. He was found guilty last May after a 3-day jury trial. Investigators also say Garner had several previous felony convictions, including for drug trafficking/possession and wanton endangerment in the tri-state. He was prohibited from possessing a firearm or ammunition due to those charges. According to the release, Garner must serve 3 years of supervised release after his release from prison.
All right, so let me back this up here. So he got 8 years and 4 months, and he had drugs, and he shot somebody, and he took it to trial. Now, normally you take something to trial, man, you're talking 20 years. But he took it to trial, and what did it say? It lasted 3 days, and he was found guilty. Well, I knew that was going to happen. Whenever you take something to trial, they've already got all the evidence against you. But to take something to trial, charges like this, and only get 8 years, he got lucky. He got lucky. Maybe things are turning around for the feds. Normally, that's 20 years. So some of you guys are thinking of taking a trial. Here's a guy who did and got 8 years. He probably would have got, if he took the plea deal, I'm guessing it might have been 5 years. Who knows? The plea deal could have been more than that. He took it to trial and guilty as charged, but he got 8 years. That's really not a bad deal. Guns and shooting somebody and having drugs and trafficking and possession and all that stuff. It was a tri-state area. So I'm kind of surprised. So I guess sometimes there is a little bit of justice left in the feds, so to speak. Let's see who we got on here. We got the original OG Gamer, and he says, when you get convicted for bank wire fraud and money laundering, what level of federal prison do they go to? So normally you're going to go to one of the low facilities. Wire fraud and money laundering, that's all camp stuff. I went to a camp. Security loans and real estate fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, all of that stuff's white collar. But you got to have 10 years or less to go to a camp. So if you had 20 years or less, you could go to a low security. I doubt you're going to go above that. I really doubt it, unless you get, more than 20 years. Wendy's in the room. Hey, Wendy, how we doing? And she says, hello, fam. Yeah, Wendy, I haven't been able to go live all week. I kept putting my things on here. I had to reset my computer to factory settings, and now I'm trying it all out. I lost a lot of programs. I got to reinstall all those. But, man, I blew it, Wendy. I was trying to make images larger. I went to this comfort of ease section on the computer, and I guess it's for disabled or blind people. I did something, man. And all week long, I just screwed up my computer, but I think I got it back going now. Hey, Nick. I remember you, Nick. What's up, Nick? Yeah, Nick, you was talking last time I was doing a show here. You got a great outcome at your sentence, right? Would you get 4 years supervised instead of doing some time? I think that's what it was, Nick. So you're definitely we want to talk to you more about that. Yeah. And Nick says been on probation for almost 2 weeks, still don't have a probation officer yet. Really? Normally you got 72 hours to check in with probation once you get sentenced. Boy, these feds are slacking, man. Like this case, man. The guy took it all the way to trial and he got 8 years. I haven't heard of that one. Normally it's 20 years, especially for his charges. But who knows? Things are starting to turn around, maybe. I don't know if that's good or bad, man. Good or bad. Let me see if I can do one more story, guys. Let me see what I got on here. Just testing out all my equipment. Let's see. Hit this button. This one I got here. Inmate walks away from federal prison in Seagoville. So, they call it a walk away when you escape from a camp. It's called escape when you escape. But they call this a walk away. So this is what happens when you're in a camp because we have no fences, just out of bounds signs. So let's see what happened. I know it's usually a 2-year. They add 2 years to your sentence when you walk away. Come on, the little timer's on. All right, inmate walks away from federal prison. Let's see here.
Inmate walks away from federal prison in Seagoville, officials say. The 31-year-old was serving a 160-month sentence at the time of his disappearance. Published, 4:59 p.m. Central Daylight Time, October 31, 2022. Seagoville, Texas. The Bureau of Prisons is searching for an inmate it says walked away from a satellite camp in North Texas. Salvador Gallegos, 31, was discovered missing from a satellite camp next to the Federal Correctional Institution in Seagoville. Gallegos was serving a 160-month sentence for possession with the intent to distribute a controlled substance, the Bureau said. Gallegos has black hair, brown eyes, is 5 feet to 7 inches tall, and weighs approximately 170 pounds. The United States Marshals Service, Federal Bureau of Investigation, and other law enforcement agencies have been notified, officials said. FCI Seagoville is a minimum security facility, the BOP said. Anyone with information on Gallegos' whereabouts is asked to contact the U.S. Marshals Service at 214-767-0836.
So he had a 160-month sentence. Let's see. That's more than 10 years because I know 120-month is 10 years. So then he had 40 months. So he had about a 13.5-year sentence. So my guess is he transferred. He was probably in a low security where they have fences. And when he got down to his 10-year mark, they moved him to a camp. And that's when he decided to escape or walk away, as they say. They don't really seem to make a big deal out of it when somebody leaves a camp. They call it a walk away. The marshals have been notified. It's not like they're really looking for this guy. I mean, the marshals will find you. That's for sure. As far as I know, they add 2 years to your sentence. So, he probably had 10 years to go. And, some guys think, well, I'll just, I'll walk. They'll catch me in a week or two. But, it's only 2 more years. I already had 14 to do. What's 16, 14? Who cares, right? I'll get a little time off. I'll go find my family, find my girl. I'll go party. I'll have some fun. They'll catch me, and I'll do 2 more years, and I'll be back behind a fence. And to him, it's no big deal. And that's the way some people look at it. That's really how they look at it. And it doesn't seem like, they're making a big deal out of it. So when you walk away or escape from the camp, it's kind of what happens. He had a 160-month sentence, possession with the intent to distribute a controlled substance. That's kind of a lot of time for just selling drugs, but maybe there's more to it than that. But there's another guy who probably never said a word, didn't make any deals or anything. Because when you get like, that's what, 13 and a half years, I think, just for distributing. Doesn't say the amount or anything, but that's kind of a lot of time. To me, kind of is. Let's see who else what we got going here. And let's see. Nick says, well, let me get back to where catch up with these comments here. Nick says, finally live, Sean. LOL. Thought you had computer issues. Yeah, I did. So I reset my computer to factory settings, and I guess it's kind of working now. So yeah, and I've been sick all weekend. I have a COVID test, but I'm not going to take it because I think I just got the flu, and I have one test left. But I'm supposed to go to work tomorrow morning, and I think I will. I'm not going to use the test. I've already had COVID twice, guys, and I've had my shots and boosters and all that. None of that seems to matter anymore. Streets of Atlanta. How does the narrative letter work? So that's the letter that you're going to write to the judge, your personal story, your personal explanation, your personal begging for mercy letter to the judge. Also, on sentencing day, you get a chance to talk to the judge. And I recommend you also speak to the judge 5 or 10 minutes. They're not going to give you a half an hour to talk to the judge, although they can. But that's where you get before he lays down that gavel and says, I sentence you to 10 years or 5 years or whatever it is, you get to state your case. Why? You're already guilty. So remember that. In all these letters that you write, you're guilty. Okay. Remember, you're guilty. So you're not trying to say how innocent you are or that you've been wrongly charged. You're guilty. So now you've got to say in these letters, since you are guilty, why should you get a lenient sentence? Why should the judge go easy on you? And this is where you can explain the good things you've done. But the judge kind of wants to hear the good things you've done since you've been indicted. All the good things you did before you got charged, well, if you did all those good things, why'd you even get charged? Okay, good. That doesn't happen to good people. That's what the judge is going to think. If you're so high and mighty and innocent and all that, and you got an 80-year-old grandmother to take care of and 3 kids that depend on you and a loving wife and all this, why are you in my courtroom? Why did you do these crimes? So that's not going to fly. But what you need to do is convince the judge what you've done since you've been indicted and going through pretrial and all that. How have you changed? What are you going to do to change once you get to prison? What are you going to do to change when you get out of prison? And that's kind of what the letter is, and that's what you're going to say on sentencing day. Let's see here. Next one is, I got time served, 4-year supervised release. Yeah, Nick, I still don't know how you did it, but it's great to hear stories like that. Really great. The judge loved my narrative and how I did community service, and I had no problems on pretrial. Yeah, and community service is very important, guys. I mean, if you can once a week, maybe you go to the boys club, maybe you do the senior center, and maybe you work at a food bank. Once a week is fine, but document it. And most of these places that take in people to do community service, they'll have sheets for you. They'll have attendance sheets and all that, and they'll sign it and date it and all that. And you put that in your paperwork and you show that to the judge. And that all helps because that kind of shows the judge your actions. Okay. Then we got Streets of Atlanta. He in a camp with 13 years. No, so he started off at a low and then he got switched to the camp at the 10-year mark. They're not saying that, but I know that's what happened. So as soon as he got to the camp, then he decided to walk. He had to wait 3 years or something till he got transferred to the camp, but then he walked. I'm sure that's what happened. Says, and Nick, who did your narrative? Yeah, Nick, who did your narrative? Did you do it? I'd like to know that myself. And it says, RDAP Dan did my narrative. Yeah, RDAP Dan's a good guy. I'm kind of working a little bit with RDAP Dan now. He's taken me under his wing. I've known RDAP Dan since before I went to prison, and we've been friends ever since. So RDAP Dan has taken me under his wing, and he's teaching me the trade, guys. And I know some, but I don't know as much. He does things I didn't even know could be done. I didn't know he could extend your date of self-surrender without the use of a lawyer. He knows the paperwork and the process to get it right to the judge. And if you need an extra 30 days to turn yourself in for whatever reasons, RDAP Dan can do that. There's a lot of things I didn't know he does, and he's teaching me. Nick says, you should have Sean do it for you. I'm sure he would give you a lot better. Yeah, I've done like 4 of them. So, I'm still new at this, but I've been doing these videos for a couple years, guys. And so I used to do all this for free. And now I have a couple clients now. I'm writing some character reference letters for them, and I'm doing a personal narrative for a guy that is involved in a big drug conspiracy kind of thing too. I can't tell you a whole bunch about his case. He was going to come on the show, but his lawyer told me not to. He's banned from social media right now. So I don't even want to tell you his name, but I'm working with him and another lady who's looking at 10 or 15 years for distributing meth. I don't think she's going to get that. I've got a bunch of cases I sent her of people with her charges that got 5 years. So working with her lawyer, working on her letters. So yeah, I do that for probably 1/10 of the price that these guys charge. So, but my number's on the screen. It's underneath the videos. Give me a call if you are interested. What I do is when I do write the letters, especially the character reference letters, I'll call your relatives, your friends, your bosses, your employers, your Uncle Joe, whoever it is, and I'll work with them to write the letter. And if they want me to ghostwrite it, I'll ghostwrite it. I'll take their personal information, but I do all that kind of work for you, relieve the stress. Just give me their name and number. I'll call them up, tell them you hired me. Together, we'll work on your letter, and then I want you to show it to your lawyer and get it approved. And if not, we edit it, we'll rewrite it. I haven't had any problem with any letters I've written that people have showed their lawyers. It kind of saves the lawyer a lot of trouble. And like I said, I charge about 1/10 of the price the other guys do, but my heart's in it, and I do twice the amount of work, I believe. So, anyways, but I'm not here to talk about that, or am I? Anyways, I'm just trying to get my computer back in action, make sure everything's working. It seems to be. Nick says, Judge liked how I wrote that I took responsibility and didn't blame it on anyone else, and how I changed my life. Exactly, Nick. That's you nailed it right there. Take responsibility. Don't blame anyone else. And how have you changed your life since you've been indicted? That's kind of what they want to hear. Nick, that's it. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. They don't want to hear about your wife and your kids and how they're going to struggle if you go to prison, and and how you're dying of cancer and you're laid up in a hospital bed and you have one leg. I've seen a lot. I did time with lots of guys that had one leg. Judges don't care. They're still going to give you all that time. You should have thought about that before you committed the crime. That's what the judge says. And if you think you're innocent, then take it to trial, okay? You shouldn't be taking a plea deal if you think you're innocent. But you know what happens when you take it to trial? You're going to be guilty. I mean, 97% conviction rate. And those that do get off not guilty, guess what? They come back with more charges. Maybe it takes them a year or two. They're going to dig up more stuff against you. They haven't thrown all their cards out. You might win that one trial. They're going to be back. And you're going to be on their hot list for the rest of your life until they get you for some time. That's just the way the feds are, man. Take it to trial. Good luck with that. I really wish. I've met guys in prison who won cases. And then what are you doing in prison? Well, they came back 3 years later and they got me on this charge. That's what they do. So when you're playing with the feds, state, if you're facing state charges, it's a whole nother ball game. I mean, look what happened to OJ. That was a state case. OJ wouldn't have made it in the feds. He would have been guilty, but he had the lawyers, he had the team, and the glove didn't fit, if you remember right. But in a state case, yes, you can win. You can win. They have better deals, all that kind of stuff. Streets of Atlanta says, Nick, what was your charge? Yeah, I don't remember, Nick, what your charge was. I don't remember. I think I'm going to show one more story on here. I think I got another escape charge, and I'm probably going to wrap it up, guys. I'm doing a test run to see if this is all working, and I'll do more videos this week. But let me see. I got drug smugglers sentenced to 17 years. I got a Baltimore gang member was sentenced to 29 years. A New Haven man sentenced to 10 years in federal for trafficking fentanyl. And an Aurora man sentenced to 23 years in federal for shooting Rocky Mountain, I think, National Ranger, I think. Which one should I do here? Let's go with the, I don't know. Let's go with the drug smuggler sentenced to 17 years. That's a lot of time for smuggling drugs. 17 years. Let's see. Okay. Let me mute me because it has an echo if I don't mute myself.
McAllen, Texas, Valley Central. 2 men have been sentenced to 17 years in federal prison for their role in a conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute cocaine and meth, hidden in car batteries. Victor Hugo Gil Martinez, 28, and Rodrigo Aguilar Rosas, who were both illegally residing in Edinburgh, were ordered to federal prison, a news release from U.S. Attorney Jennifer B. Lowry stated. The 2 were charged with conspiracy to possess, with intent to distribute 282 pounds of cocaine and 11 pounds of meth. Gil Martinez pleaded guilty to his charges on January 3, and Aguilar Rosas pleaded guilty March 22. On October 27, U.S. District Judge Michaela Alvarez sentenced both Gil and Aguilar to each serve 210 months in federal prison. Due to their illegal status, both men are expected to face removal proceedings following their imprisonment, the release stated. At the hearing, the court noted Gil and Aguilar illegally entered the United States for the sole purpose of working in the drug trafficking organization. The arrest. On September 27, 2021, law enforcement conducted a search of an Edinburgh residence and located about 39 vehicle batteries. Upon further inspection of the batteries, law enforcement discovered a total of 282 pounds of cocaine and 11 pounds of meth stored inside, the release stated. According to the release, both Gil Martinez and Aguilar Rosas admitted to receiving the narcotics-filled batteries from other individuals who smuggled them into the United States from Mexico. They would steer the drug-filled batteries at their residence, remove the narcotics, and then transport the drugs to other individuals across the Rio Grande Valley. Authorities also located about $142,000 in wrapped U.S. currency upon further inspection of the residence. The money was destined to be transported to Mexico, according to the release. The total narcotics seized had an estimated street value of $3,217,500. Both men have been and will remain in custody pending transfer to a U.S. Bureau of Prisons facility to be determined in the near future, the release stated.
So, yeah, hiding the drugs in car batteries. Interesting. Yeah, that's a lot. 282 pounds of cocaine, 11 pounds of meth. I guess the meth was just a little extra bonus or something. But, yeah, so they were not American citizens. So, yeah, of course, they will not be on pretrial. They don't get to watch this show. They don't get all the luxuries that people get on pretrial, like coming up with character reference letters, being able to call your family and friends and have them speak for you at court, and call somebody like RDAP, Dan, or me and try to help you get a better case. No, you're locked up the whole time. Only people that get to visit you are your family, maybe, and your lawyers. And when you're locked up in sentencing, locked up awaiting sentencing and things like that, it could be years. I was 4 years on pretrial. Could you imagine if I had to do all that time locked up and then get sentenced to prison? So sometimes you wonder, pretrial, maybe it's not worth it being out on pretrial, but it kind of is, because you can do so much to show the judge that you've changed your ways, like Nick did. You do community service, things like that. You don't get to do community service while you're locked up. You don't get the luxury of calling people and asking for help and writing letters and working on your character to show the judge that you have changed. So if you are on pretrial, you want to use every day to the best that of possible, way to change your life, and also to enjoy life, and remember that life is precious. Yeah, I know if you're on pretrial, one day you're going to go to prison. Maybe not, you won't. You'll be like Nick and get 4 years supervised, 4 years probation. That Nick, that I do hear about that more and more, guys, but don't count on it. But it happens. It happens. Here's proof. But TJ's another guy. He was first guy in the chat room. He's another guy got supervised release. So it is starting to happen. 10 years ago, you didn't hear about this stuff. And 10 years ago, I was just starting my pretrial, guys. So next month, December 22nd, I'm off my 3 years federal probation, guys. That's my Christmas present. So, I got indicted. Well, my house got raided 2011, I believe. 2012, I got indicted. 2016 or 17, I finally got sentenced. And then, 3 months later, I turned myself into prison. And I get out of prison. I do 6 months halfway house. I got 52 months, but I did RDAP and some programs. And I got 27 months in the camp, 6 months halfway house. And then my 3 years supervised release started. And next month, I'm off all that. So it's been damn near like 11 years, guys. So, 10 years ago, people were getting sentenced big time, and I was really scared. Things have changed in the last 10 years. Since I've been following RDAP Dan, and Walt Pavlo's another guy who helped me. He doesn't really do the YouTube anymore, but he's teaching criminology courses at the Southern University of Boston, and he's a good guy. You can find Walt Pavlo on Twitter. Almost daily, he's got an article having to do something with the federal system. I think I do have a story by Walt Pavlo. Let me see, and I'll wrap it up with that. I think I saved one of his. Now, this is a guy who helped me. Walt Pavlo put $100 on my books, guys, every month while I was in prison. Every month. Never missed a month. He had $250 waiting for me the day I went into prison. Let me see if I got his story. I thought I had it here. And I don't know if I have it. I have to save that. I'll do a special on Walt. That's what I'll do. I'm going to do a tribute to Walt Pavlo on my next video, because this man, RDAP Dan knows him too, but he helped me so much with the letters to write to people. Not only did he put $100 on my books every month, he wrote me letters. He'd take my phone calls. I still talk to him today. And this guy, he took time in prison himself for embezzlement and securities frauds, and he was an MC. He worked for MCI, and he embezzled a bunch of money. But he did his time. He served his time. He paid his dues. He's turned his life around. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a tribute to Walt Pavlo, and I'll put a bunch of his Twitter stories, because every day he's almost on Twitter, and he fights. He fights for change in the federal judicial system, and he writes about it and he talks about it. Walt Pavlo, guys, Google him out there. And he's got a website called Prisonology. It's got a lot of helpful things on there too. If you're looking to find out ways to get a better outcome on your sentence, prisonology.com. Walt Pavlo. I'm going to finish up some of these comments, and then I'm going to call it a wrap, guys. But it looks like everything's working on my computer. Let me do the stop sharing. I don't need that anymore. And let's see. Start with Nick. We're about the safety valve. Streets. Yeah. Let's see. I think I missed that. Nick's. Here we go. Streets of Atlanta. Did you use the safety valve? And Nick says, "Yep, I used the safety valve." And that's what helped you. Yeah, safety valve. So we can do another show about that. Nick, maybe you can tell them what a safety valve is in your words, since you used it. I didn't use it. At least I don't think I did. Um, and yep, that's exactly, he says, that's exact. Where's it go? That's exactly. And I got a minor role adjustment too. And I started at level 24, got it down to level 17. Okay. Yeah, I got a couple points reduced because you take acceptance of responsibility. Basically, you tell on yourself. You sit in a room with all the prosecutors and your lawyer, and you tell on yourself. Now they're going to ask you for other names and stuff. I didn't give him any other names. I had a leadership role, so it really wouldn't do any good. I had 9 co-defendants. Defendants. I think 4 of them did time. The other 5 didn't do no time. I wonder why. One of them was a girlfriend of mine, but she still got 29 months, even though she told me she wore a wire one day. But they didn't, whatever information, they already had it. So it didn't do her any good. So anyways, I'm not allowed to say her name or talk to her. Although when I'm off probation next month, can I look her up then finally? Because I'm not allowed to talk to any of my co-defendants. So some of them were really good friends of mine. And that was 11 years ago. Maybe I can finally look them up next month. And let's see. Oh, mandatory minimum was 5 years, but got the safety valve. So that took away the mandatory minimum. That's right. Safety valve can do that. Yep, that's right. And Nick says, Sean, did you ever request for early termination of supervised release? Yes, I have. Several times, Nick, but I have a $1.7 million restitution. So unless I pay that off in full, sorry, Charlie. No. Yeah, when I transferred here to New Mexico last year from California, so I guess the supervisor of probation department came over to check me out, and he says, "What are you doing on probation? I got your record here. You've been nothing but good things about you. I've got all these letters. You've had 3 probation officers. They all say good things about you. Why are you on probation? I'm going to take you off." And I said, "Really? What about my restitution?" He goes, "Oh, you have a restitution. I forgot." He goes, "That's why you're still on it. We would have took you off. You wouldn't even have to go to court. You've been doing so good, Sean. We would have just took you off." That's what he said, without you even having to go to court. But when you owe a restitution, yeah, they keep you till the end. So I've heard of people getting off with a smaller restitution, but not what I got. Hey, Sea-Dog is in the house. God bless, family. Hey, Sea-Dog, good to see you. Check out Sea-Dog and Cooper Show podcast. He's live out of Tijuana all the time. Check out his channel. He did time in the feds, guys. He's done time in the States, but he'll probably never do time again if he keeps doing what he does today, right, Sea-Dog? Which is good things. And he's out there and he's preaching the Lord's word and living in Tijuana and just doing good things. Check out Sea-Dog and Cooper Show podcast on YouTube, guys. Check it out. And I think that's it. K5. I don't know what that means. K5. Okay. I'm not sure what K5 means, but anyways, guys, I want to thank you guys for all coming on. I was going to keep this short, but I will. Now I have an idea. I'm going to do a tribute to Walt Pavlo, who helped really make an impact in my prison sentence and experience and helped me get through it. And I'm really helped me answer all my questions like I try to do now and pay it forward like he did. So guys, if you just need to talk, you're going through some federal problems, call me, guys. I'm not trying to get you to hire me or anything like that. I talk to people all the time. I've been doing it for years. I may not have all the answers that you want to hear. Sometimes I give you the answers you don't want to hear, but I try to be truthful and let you know what you're really facing. And anything I can do to help, guys. You know, the numbers on the screen there. I wanted to say God bless you guys. Looks like my computer's back. I got everything working. So I'm not going to sit there and try to, I tried to make all my little objects bigger. So I had the text bigger and I was playing with this and playing with that. And anyway, things are back. It's good to be back. God bless you guys. I'll catch you on the next video. Thanks a lot for watching.